This is our COVID Roundup and CDC update for May 31st, 2024. Since last week, there have been no changes in deaths due to COVID. Putting this into context, we have had 4 out of the last 5 weeks being constant in deaths. This is usually an indicator that the trend is about to reverse and go straight back up again. Next, moving on to our genetic surveillance for COVID by the CDC. They update this approximately every 2 weeks. So since they updated it last week, there's no update for this week, but I just wanted to show the picture that they have KP2 followed by KP3, and we'll keep this in our minds as we move over to Raj's tracker. Where recall from last week, Raj had KP2 at about 3rd place. It's now increased to 1st place, and we've also seen pretty significant rises in KS1, KP3, and LB1 had a very significant increase in proportion, which in my mind further strengthens the argument for the need for a bivalent vaccine for the fall. At this time, I'm pretty confident in the target selections for KP3 and LB1, as LB1 is a D-flirt variant and KP3 is a Sluke variant, where both of those variants, in addition to KP2, have very high immune escape properties. The next thing I noticed on the CDC's page is that they updated the Pango lineage chart. It is much cleaner now, but I want us all to take a step back and recognize that JN1 emerged around December, and we have this huge umbrella grouping of variants that emerged that were greater than 1% of proportion. So these are all significant variants that occurred, and this doesn't even include all the ones that exist right now for JN1 subvariants, where we have to recognize that these changes occurred very, very quickly. COVID variants are continuing to mutate faster and faster, and that is incredibly concerning. And because COVID reservoirs can exist that can reemerge back into the population, as we saw with BA2, which came back and then created that pyrola variant of BA2.86, it then becomes even more important to have historic vaccinated immunity, because what people should have is the original Wuhan strain 3 times. They should have the BA4, BA5 bivalent in the US, BA1 and original Wuhan for Europe, which was unfortunately poor choice for that one. And then we have the XBB 1.5, and then now it should be something like KP3 and LB1 for the next vaccine targets. But the thing is, if you only got vaccinated with the primary series Wuhan target, you're missing protection against huge sections of the tree over here and over here. If you didn't get vaccinated with BA4, BA5, the bivalent, or with the XBB 1.5, which will make segments of the populations more susceptible to a reemergence of an older lineage. That is, if they haven't been keeping up with their vaccinations. Moving on to our New York State wastewater surveillance map for COVID, we're seeing a very clear signal increase with a clear rise in COVID concentration in the wastewater. As a reminder, anything that is dark blue is low levels of COVID in the wastewater, anything that is light blue is moderate levels, and anything from yellow to bright red is high levels of COVID in the wastewater. For all reporting wastewater facilities in New York, 63% are now reporting at the high levels for COVID in the wastewater. Next, moving on to wastewater scan with a focus on California, we have a very clear signal increase at this point, showing that COVID concentrations are increasing. Here is the current time blown up for a better view, where we see the exact same trend when we look hyperlocally at the Santa Clara County wastewater dashboard in California, which is showing very sharp signal increases in that COVID wastewater concentration. Next, moving on to all reporting wastewater facilities in the US to wastewater scan. Again, we're seeing a very clear increase in the wastewater signal. And even though our summer wave has essentially just started, we're already hitting points near the max of prior summer waves, where we are already exceeding a few of them. So unfortunately, this summer wave is already looking like it's poised to be the worst one yet in our COVID pandemic.